Lesley Anderson is the Director for Planning and Development for the City of Saskatoon, currently with us, and want to talk a little bit about the future growth plans for Saskatoon. We have some armchair planners in the city that like to weigh in, but in terms of the actual growth plan of Saskatoon and what it looks like, it's her that's guiding that. So Lesley, thank you for taking some time today.
Thank you, Randy.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into this role and the world of planning and what interested you in that field.
Sure. So I originally grew up in Ontario, but I moved around quite a bit after high school and have lived across the country. And then I was looking at going back to school, and so I looked at planning, and it sounded fantastic. I had an anthropology degree and thought, oh, this is an interesting way to look at how different cultures live in their environment and what they want out of the places where they call home. So I went back and went to Dalhousie and did my master's there. And then I worked in Fort McMurray for a while during the boom in the oil sands and saw some really interesting things happen there. And then I moved to BC for a while and worked in public policy there. So coming to Saskatoon, was a great step, and it's definitely a place I've come to love in the last 12 years here. And I think the community is just getting better all the time in terms of everything it has to offer and what our community feels is important and how it embraces the people that come here. So I'm very happy to be here and be involved in how we grow and change as a community to meet the needs of all of our residents. So I think it's a great time in Saskatoon.
You touched on the Fort McMurray, and obviously that was an exponential type of growth. So that's good to see that model and what may have been good and could have been improved. What are we working on in Saskatoon now in terms of our achievement in balanced growth and all of that planning that we're doing in the city?
Well, I think you've grabbed it there as the idea of balanced growth. I mean, we are trying to accommodate the various desires that people have for where they want to live. So we're not looking at forcing people to make a certain choice. It's about how do we best accommodate those things in a way that people can afford and the city can afford to. Because there are big implications in terms of how we design for that growth and how we build it out over time. And that's something we have to be really careful about. But we are planning new neighborhoods that are further out that will accommodate, green space and schools and the types of homes that people still want to have with their own backyard. And we're looking at how can we also encourage that other style for people that don't want that. How can we encourage some higher density development that gives people a good option for what they want to have in their lifestyle and in locations that really make sense. We don't want those necessarily on the outskirts where people are traveling further to get to amenities. We want them close to things. So we really are trying to balance that growth east, west, north, south, through suburban growth areas and through infill. So it is really looking at what are all the opportunities, how can we make them the best they can be.
So if we were to look at the interior of Circle Drive, and would we call that infill development as a whole, do we have any examples of places that we want to see more of a focus on? Because you just mentioned new neighborhoods would need a new fire hall, and that needs to be staffed, and roads need to be plowed and so on. But where we have existing infrastructure already in place, you're utilizing that more efficiently. What do you see with if we use the downtown area as in general, and north downtown, north of 25th Street, there's the old vacant land by the Robin Hood Mills and 25th that's empty. Do you see opportunities more for housing and more densely populated areas in that area?
Well, I think the downtown is kind of one of our key questions right now in terms of how do we start to shift the focus of the downtown and shift what people think of too. It really should be the heart of our community and the biggest, best, most interesting neighborhood in Saskatoon, but we don't think of it as a neighborhood. We call it either the Central Business District or downtown, and we think of it as a largely office space. It's got great entertainment uses, great restaurants. It's very busy in the evenings with all those activities happening. But we kind of need to think about it a little bit differently and see how can we make it the place where people might want to live, or just spend more time. I mean, it is a very interesting place. How can we enhance that? And what do we need to do long term? So we have a few big questions right now that are out there that we have to figure out and put those puzzle pieces together so we can help drive that change. So that's really about the bus rapid transit that we're hoping to get a decision on in the next few months. What that will mean for downtown, what potential bike lanes will mean for downtown, and then of course the lovely question of a future arena convention center that people love to speculate about and is a very interesting prospect for our downtown. A new central library. In the future we'll need a new fire station because ours is aging. We need to change how people move through the area, what Ottawa Drive looks like. There's a lot of big questions there and can really change the flavor of our downtown and make it a really, really interesting, thriving place.
I think we're on our way with a number of key pieces that we're developing there. When we look at an entertainment district, if we do the arena convention center type of model, other cities, I mean, the wheel's already been invented, so it's just a matter of some of that management expertise that we can utilize here. Transportation in and out is important. What do you see in terms of where and how people are living? Are there trends that you as planners monitor and look at different demographics? I mean, seniors have different needs than people that want to party and drink till 2 in the morning. So how do you find where people want to live and what they want to do?
Well, that's a tough one because every community is different and what people want is going to be a little bit different. But we do see some of those trends changing in terms of overall demographics. If people are marrying later, having children later, they have a longer time where they might be more interested in that that lifestyle where you have a little less time spent on your home and yard and more time spent doing fun things. I remember those days fondly of not having to do yard work and that kind of thing. So we have a wider demographic there in terms of the length of time people might be looking at that type of lifestyle. And then we have seniors that are still really, really active and want access to things quickly and easily. And so that's growing too. And then we do have families that are looking either to minimize their impacts or to have more conveniences, that kind of thing. So we really are seeing those differences come in. And we also have a lot of great experiences coming in from newcomers to our community that are saying, well, this is a lifestyle I used to have and I want to have it, but you don't offer it. How do we address that? So there is a lot of opportunity there. And those are the trends that we're seeing in other cities as well. But how we address them, I think, will of course be specific to Saskatoon and what we feel as a community we can handle.
I think that's important that you touched on that because there are differences. We always hear about Copenhagen, but we're not Copenhagen. So what's relevant and what are the nuggets, if you will, that we can superimpose on our city? When we look at the growth plan, we're about 300,000 population now. And if we target 500,000, there have been a number of workshops and things like that have happened, city center plan. Do we see any opportunities for the city from 300 to 500 and then I guess the next phase 500 to 1 million for your purview of what you're seeing as a planner in charge of all that? What are you looking for as the population continues to grow?
Well, I think the big challenge will be how do we transition from the way we've always done things, and in terms of looking at us as a smaller city, how do we transition that to providing that broader spectrum of things that people are looking for now? We provided certain services and did things a certain way because it worked then. But now we know we're going to be growing and we need to provide things and we need to be ahead of it. If we keep thinking about, we're just a small city, we're always going to be behind. I think that's one of our big challenges. Not that we're trying to force the move ahead, but there is some element of having to be proactive and think about what we need to respond to. There's lots of imagination out there about what automated cars are going to mean for the community. Well, you have to be proactive in order to not have an incredibly harmful effect from something like that. So there is a lot going on, but when I look at planning and what we do in my office and all my great staff, I think hardly anything that we do is just us alone. So it's really about bringing the community together and bringing the different people that are involved in building the city into those conversations to see where we need to be and what we need to address going forward.
What would you say is the opportunity that's in front of us now in terms of, are we the right size city to start making some investments in some of the areas that you're working on? Or we have the P4G plan, which includes Warman, Martensville, Osler, Corman Park. There's that type of visioning already happening.
Yep. I think we're definitely at the right size. We can look to examples just in Western Canada of Calgary in one person's lifetime went from 250,000 to over 1 million. So we can see, and we're not expecting that, but we can see that they can say, oh, we would have done things differently had we known. So we can use some of that knowledge to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes. And I think we're at that point where we need to look at those things. In planning with the region around Saskatoon, we also know we've been doing things the same way for quite a long time, and everybody's not happy with that. So we need to find a way to make the region prosperous and the region attractive, as well as the city. And that's a delicate balancing act that we're still working through. But we are at the right size and the right time to make some really great changes in our community.
What would you like to have the residents do when we have the open houses and consultative process that you've warmly welcomed people to have their input? What parting words can you give them in terms of showing up and offering their input online or in person? Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it is really important. We are trying to make that more easily available for people to do because their input does drive what happens. And I know it's easy to say that that's not what's happening, but we have to balance all of those interests coming in. So we may not do exactly what you say, but we've also had 4 other people say something on the opposite spectrum. Maybe, yeah. So that's really difficult, but it doesn't make that input any less valuable, and we need to hear from all those people who have an interest in their community. So anytime there is that opportunity, we'd really encourage people to try to get their input in online, phone, email, video, come out to the events. It's really important.
I think we're on the right track, and in terms of the vision that you and the department are bringing to the table, I want to thank you for your efforts in moving here, and as a lifelong resident, I see some tremendous opportunity in front of us. So keep up the good work, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
All right, thanks, Randy.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.